The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Hello, welcome to Community Forum. I'm your host, Adam Carreiro, filling in for Priscilla today, and we're continuing our interviews for the people running for governor's council. And today we have the Republican representative, Frank Crimmins Jr. So Frank, thank you for Crimmins Jr.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
And thanks for having me, Adam.
Yeah. So I know this position isn't a well-known position that people really know, like a senator or a House rep. But your position that you're running for is a type of position that really stables the state on how it's run, finding its judges.
Yes.
Kind of give us a quick rundown of what the position does for the state.
Thank you very much. From our original Constitution of 1780, which preceded the U.S. Constitution, our state constitution had a provision that there be an executive council of, it started as 9 members, but it turned into 8 members, to give advice and consent to the elected governor on certain duties, which include the appointment of judges and clerks, magistrate, the people that run the judicial system. So as you know, we have 3 branches of government: the legislative branch, executive branch, and the judicial branch. At the time of that Constitution, there was no other place in the world that had a 3rd independent branch of government. And so we have those 8 members who give advice and consent to the governor on those appointments. So the appointment of judges and clerks magistrate are very, very important. There are other important duties like commutations, pardons, appointments to the Appellate Tax Board, to the Division and Department of Industrial Accidents, notaries public, and warrants to the state treasury. All are incumbent upon the 8 elected people that make up the governor's council. So I'm running for District 2. There's a vacancy in District 2. It's made up of 37 communities, and that's the district I'm running in. Now, the reason I'm running is to maintain the integrity of the rule of law, which is under attack in the country. And the 2 operating documents I have that guide me in that attempt to bolster the rule of law are contained in those founding documents: Constitution for the Commonwealth of Mass, the United States Constitution, because every judicial officer takes an oath to uphold that Constitution in that Constitution. I'm a former judge. I took an oath to uphold that Constitution and that Constitution. When people get elected in Easton and they take their oath, they take an oath to uphold that Constitution, and the charter for the town of Easton. So I'm running to maintain the rule of law and the public's confidence on that rule of law, because if the public does not have confidence in the rule of law, difficult things happen in our society because people take things into their own hands. They don't support law enforcement. They don't support the results that happen in courtroom proceedings, and we all suffer as a result of that.
And just like now in the news, like everybody kind of sees the Supreme Court, but you're really getting the judges for the state level to basically have the same prospect, but it's not so broad as for the whole country, but it's to uphold the Commonwealth law of it.
Your analogy is very good. On the federal level, the elected president nominates somebody for a vacancy on the United States Supreme Court. That nominee goes before the U.S. Senate according to the terms of the U.S. Constitution. In the Commonwealth Constitution on the state level, the governor, who has those same obligations to fill vacancies in the courts, nominates somebody for that position, and these 8 elected by the people in the 8 districts, they give advice and consent. In a lot of states that came into the United States after Massachusetts, those type of nominations do go to their state senate. But we're one of the original 13 colonies, so we had a pretty unique system that has supported itself and had good results over time, so we still have it today. But a lot of other states, they'll have nominees get confirmed by their state senate.
Okay. I know you mentioned you're a former lawyer. What other...
A present lawyer, former judge.
That's a present lawyer, former judge. But besides those positions, what other positions kind of help you take in part to be to get the governor's council position?
Background, you mean?
Your background, yeah.
Well, I mean, by way of background, I grew up in neighboring town of Stoughton. I went to high school at Zavarian Brothers. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go to Harvard College. I graduated there. I was working days in my father's real estate and insurance business. And every Saturday we went to McMenemy's Hamburger Cottage for the best steak burger with cheese ever invented. You know, I went to law school nights at Suffolk. I got out of Suffolk University Law School in '81. I started a practice in my hometown in '81. I started getting active in public service right away. I was lucky enough to get elected to the select board. They called it Board of Selectmen back then in 1982. I served until '85. I ran for a moderator in town. I was lucky enough to win a seat for moderator. I was elected to 8 consecutive terms till I was appointed by then Governor Weld to the position of Associate Justice of the Stoughton District Court. I served for the next 17 and a half years in district courts, including Stoughton, but all up and down Southeast Mass. And then I became the first justice at the Stoughton District Court in 2001, where I stayed there to my retirement. In 2010, I left. My wife and I have 4 kids. We put them through college. I needed to make some more money, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we were doing that. That's what I did. And after that, I started the practice. I did a stint as the town manager in the town of Stoughton for a couple of years while I was practicing law. I also was the administrator in the town of Avon for 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, and still having a part-time practice. And I devoted myself full-time after 2018, where I conduct a law office today in Stoughton. It's called Ab Initio Elder Law Solutions. It's an estate planning and elder law firm where we assist families that need to take care of people with some chronic health care issues and some other issues of daycare and health care and accessing services for that. That's what I do for a living, and that type of thing. I've been active in some other political activities, and most recently I was I had just resigned to run for this. I resigned as the chairperson of the State Ballot Law Commission. I was appointed by Governor Baker in 2022. I resigned that just a couple of months ago so I could run for this particular seat. So I've been active on some things.
And it kind of sounds like you've also been like part of different angles of the court system too. So you kind of have a good idea of like what to look in for somebody to hold the judge position too.
Yes, because for example, when you're a first justice at a court, you're not only making decisions in the courtroom, but I was the administrative head of that court. I was also a former temporary first justice in Fall River between appointments down there earlier in my career. And when you're a first justice, like I was in Stoughton Court, in addition to making the decisions in the courtroom that you would think a judge makes You have other decisions. You deal with the union for the clerks and their staff, because the clerk magistrate is appointed like a judge.
Okay.
The judge doesn't appoint the clerk. The clerk magistrate goes through the same process, gets appointed by a governor. But you have staff, so you deal with the union for the staff. You have the court officers and security people there. You have probation and all the people that work in probation staff. You have the security. A lot of the courthouses are not owned by the state. They're owned by a county. So the state rents from the county. You have to deal with the county to get things done in the building, like they have air conditioning on a day like today.
Right.
Those type of things. So a lot of people think a judge controls everything in a courthouse. A judge is one of many people. When you come out in the morning and a court officer brings you out there, you don't hire that court officer, and they put you in a chair in a courtroom in a building that a lot of times is owned by the county. So
Okay.
you don't own that building. You're in a courtroom where the representative of the elected district attorney has the assistant district attorney over here. The defense counsel is over here. The members of the public are out there. Probation people are there. You don't hire them. And yet you have to work with a lot of people to make the whole thing work. So that skill set you need to not only know the law, but to work with the different interest groups
Okay.
and still have the public have confidence in the outcome in the room.
Right.
It's an interesting skill set, and that's why the Governor's Council is so important, because the Governor's Council has to vet those people to know that not only do they have the competency as good lawyers, but do they have the people skills and the temperament to make the whole thing work. And that's what you need. And you need different things for the different courts.
Right.
For example, I was in the district court department as a judge. Now in my private practice life, I'm more in the probate and family court side of things. That's a different skill set. And there's a land court. There's a juvenile court. There's a housing court. There's a superior court. There's an appeals court. You have all those different types of courts and a different skill set for the people that are going to occupy those seats that are important. And you only have one time to check them out, and that's before the Governor's Council. Because once that person gets sworn in right here and takes the oath, the public never gets a chance to ask them about that again. It's
Okay.
the Governor's Council that can do that.
Yeah.
And so that was a check and balance that was put in the Constitution by the Founding Fathers to make sure before a governor, no matter who he or she is, nominates somebody, that there's a chance for the public to weigh in to see what type of person they are, to try to get some indication of what type of judge they will be. Because when you're on the judicial branch, you're not making law. If you want to change every law there is in the Commonwealth, because you think this is wrong, you want to change it and make this law, you run for the legislature. This is an independent, non-political position to be a judge, for example, or a clerk magistrate. It's not a political position. And when you take that position, among other things, right from the Constitution on, you were supposed to keep yourself out of politics. That's what was so different with our form of government and the government that we broke away from, but in Great Britain, and the Bill of Particulars about the abuses that were suffered are contained, of course, in the Declaration of Independence, and it lists those type of things. But this is true today. So the judicial branch is supposed to be devoid of politics. You know, you have that symbol, Lady Justice, right? The blindfolded symbol. You weigh the evidence. It
scales,
doesn't,
yep.
right? It doesn't matter who's in front of you. You weigh regardless of station, wealth, political persuasion, or whatever. Right? You weigh the evidence on the scales of justice. That's what it's supposed to be. So that rule of law is under attack, and we have to make sure we do everything to preserve that rule of law and the independence of that judicial branch. So people will continue to have confidence in that. And we have to have people that are going to follow what the Constitution says
Yep.
and not decide, I'm the smartest boy in the room, so forget what the law is. It should be this, so I'm going to do it my way. You know, that's not what this is all about.
They got to follow their oath.
Right. If you want to
Yep.
you want to change things, great. Run for the legislature. You know? So that's what I'm running to do and hope to achieve.
All right.
Yep.
So we only, excuse me, we only got a couple minutes left. So kind of just look into the camera and talk to the people. Like, you are running unopposed in the September 3rd ballot, but you'd be running against a Democrat opponent on November in the November election.
Yeah.
So kind of just talk to why some people should consider yourself come the November election.
Well, thank you, Adam, and ladies and gentlemen. I'd appreciate your vote on the September primary and again in November. I'm running for the office of Governor's Council in District 2 to uphold the rule of law, preserve the rule of law by vetting the candidates for those very important positions in the court system by doing what? By asking the questions at the hearings to get an idea of who they are and to make sure we have the best men and women to fill those positions, because on average, they will serve in those positions for 15 years or more, and it's very important for that. It's important to have the opportunity to vet those people. Governor's counselors do that. Our Constitution provides for 8 different people in 8 different districts to have that opportunity to weigh in on those people, and that's why I am running. The duties include giving advice and consent to the elected governor for the positions that are vacant for judgeships, clerks, magistrate, positions on the appellate tax board, Department of Industrial Accidents, or you might know as the Workers' Comp Board, to give advice and consent on commutations and pardons, to approve warrants to the state treasury, to appoint notaries public in the Commonwealth. It's a very important job. It's not a political job. It's probably the most non-political job of all the positions on the ballot. It doesn't lend itself to partisan politics. In Massachusetts, however, the Governor's Council at present, that has 7 members because District 2 is vacant, has all Democrats. There is no Republican voice. It is better for everyone to have a healthy 2-party system, so there's an exchange of ideas at that level, what level the hearings for those important positions. So I plan to be that independent voice to ask those questions, to represent the people in District 2, including the town of Easton. So I would ask for your consideration. I would be honored to have your vote in September. Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining us. You can also find more information about Frank's campaign on, we'll have on the little screen all the social and online. But good luck in
Thanks,
the
Adam.
election coming up, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So thank you for watching Community Forum. I'm today's host, Adam Carreiro. Have a good day.